Perhaps the deepest fear a human being can experience is not the fear of having too little money. It is the moment you suddenly realize that when you turn around, there is no one standing behind you anymore. Financial hardship can exhaust us, but the crushing weight of complete isolation can quietly erode a person's will to keep going. You look at your phone. Days have passed, and it hasn't rung once. You scroll through social media. Everyone seems to be laughing, celebrating, living perfect lives. Meanwhile, you sit in the same silent room, alone with your thoughts, wondering whether your existence truly matters to anyone at all. If you're listening to my voice right now, and you feel completely invisible in this vast world, take a slow, deep breath and let it out gently. Stop running from the silence. Stop trying to fill every empty space with distractions. Because today, we're going to look directly at this loneliness, and perhaps you'll discover a completely different perspective. Maybe this season of solitude is not a punishment. Maybe it isn't proof that you've been forgotten. Perhaps it's an invitation, a rare opportunity to return to yourself. And by the end of this video, you may learn how to transform this darkness into the very place where your greatest inner strength is born. Most of us will experience days like these. Days that test not only our strength, but our sense of who we are. Imagine coming home after an exhausting day of work, or after sending out countless job applications without receiving a single response. You unlock the door, you step inside, and the thing that greets you is silence. No one asks how your day went. No one notices how tired you are. You sit down, you eat a simple meal, and the only sounds filling the room are the ticking of the clock or distant traffic outside your window. When you're sick, you drive yourself to the pharmacy. When something good finally happens, you don't know who to tell. And slowly, you learn to carry everything on your own. It is often in these moments that the mind begins telling us cruel stories. It whispers, "People leave because I'm not enough. It must be my fault. If I had been different, they would have stayed." You remember the days when your home was filled with laughter. You remember late-night conversations. You remember what it felt like to belong somewhere. And then you compare that noisy past to this quiet present. In crowded places, you still feel invisible. Everyone else appears to be moving forward, while you feel as though you're simply drifting. You long to be understood. You long to be seen. You long for someone to remind you that your presence matters. But sometimes, if you remain with the silence long enough, the fog begins to lift, and wisdom finally has room to speak. The first thing we must understand is the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the painful belief that something essential is missing. It convinces us that happiness can only come from being chosen, validated, or completed by someone else. Solitude, however, is something entirely different. It is the ability to experience peace, even in your own company. Not because you don't value relationships, but because you understand that your worth does not depend on whether someone chooses to stay. The second thing to understand is that noise is not the same as connection. There are seasons in life when we become surrounded by too many voices, other people's expectations, other people's opinions, relationships that drain more than they nourish, constant distractions that leave no room for reflection, until one day we can no longer hear ourselves think. And sometimes, a period of separation creates the very space we need to rediscover our own voice. The final truth is this: do not be deceived by the illusion of the crowd. Not everyone who is constantly surrounded by people feels deeply fulfilled. Some people fear being alone with their own thoughts, because silence often reveals the wounds. We've spent years avoiding, but what we refuse to face cannot heal. Perhaps loneliness doesn't arrive to destroy you. Perhaps it arrives to strengthen parts of you that comfort never could. So how do we stop becoming victims of loneliness and begin mastering solitude? We start with small, intentional actions. Actions that quietly reshape the way we relate to ourselves. First, create rituals around your solitude. Stop treating yourself like a temporary guest in your own life. Cook yourself a nourishing meal. Set the table. Make your living space clean and welcoming. Light a candle. Play music that soothes your spirit. When you begin treating yourself with dignity and care, your brain slowly stops interpreting solitude as abandonment. Second, invest your energy in your own growth. The time you once spent chasing approval can become one of your greatest assets. Learn a new skill. Read books that expand your understanding of life. Strengthen your body through movement. Work on the dreams you've postponed for far too long. When you dedicate yourself to becoming the person you were meant to be, solitude ceases to feel like a prison. Instead, it becomes a workshop for transformation. Third, make a commitment to never abandon yourself. Every morning, look into the mirror, meet your own eyes, and say these words: I am the anchor of my own life. People may come and people may go, but I will not abandon myself. When you become your own trusted companion, desperation begins to lose its grip, and life often presents us with a beautiful paradox. The moment you stop relying on others to complete you, you become capable of building healthier, more authentic connections. Because the strongest relationships are formed between people who have already learned how to stand on their own. Winter nights can feel unbearably long, and there are seasons when the cold reaches deep within us. But a lantern was never created to fear the darkness. Its purpose is to shine because of it. If you find yourself walking alone right now, please remember this. You are not broken. Perhaps you are simply being rebuilt. Embrace this season of quiet. Be patient with your own becoming, and one day the world may wonder how you carried yourself through the harshest winter with such grace. Thank you for listening to Winter Lantern. If this episode gave you even a small measure of strength tonight, please consider leaving a like and sharing your story in the comments below. Together, we can create a sanctuary for those who continue choosing courage, even in silence. Until next time, keep your lantern burning. Goodbye for now.